Welcome to PTG TV. This is your host, Antonio Hicks, aka Escaping the Matrix. Welcoming back Mr. John Jersey Kedricks in this episode of Real Talk and Conversations about all things news today. Welcome back, man.
Good evening, guys, and coming off for those out there that care, I did go to school at University of Georgia for a second, so just want to say a little go Dogs after a ridiculous game last night.
And all the Georgia people, we all have to represent our home team, so yeah, go Dogs. Yeah, they tore TCU up last night. We were talking about it offline. It was very disrespectful on how they got beat. Like, what was the final score?
I believe 65-7.
No, they scored one more touchdown. Georgia game. Oh no, it was. I thought they got one more touchdown before Dunk was out.
Yeah, it was still brutal.
It was. Oh man, look at Google.
A crime was committed. I mean, it was bad.
A crime was committed. So hey man, y'all just listening. So I just pulled it up on Google search, and they got fireworks and stuff shooting off once you pull up in the search bar. That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was terrible. So those that do not follow Georgia games or the national finals, yeah, the score last night was 65 Georgia, 7 TCU. So TCU on the score with one touchdown, and you would have thought they would have like some punts with some. They would have kicked some field goals. Nah, because they kept overturning the ball. That's what they kept getting intercepted.
It was bad, and it's like you're talking about, Dugan, who's the quarterback for TCU. Well, I like the kid. He was a Heisman Trophy finalist too. We're talking about, like, this is no joke. This is a guy that's got skills, but it was just overwhelming. They basically had one good play, about a 35-yard pass play in the first quarter that led to their first touchdown. Yeah. Aside from that, they couldn't do anything. It was bad. It was brutal. It was very, very brutal.
Defense and offense was on there. They was on point last night.
Both sides. Even as a Georgia fan, I'm like, I basically felt sorry for the guys at the end. Like, ooh, this isn't like an evil team. This is like kind of a David Goliath type situation. And man, Goliath didn't care.
No, he did not. He did not hold back. he didn't hold back at all.
So that was good stuff. And this whole state of Georgia, of course, is it's a little sluggish today, we'll say.
Yeah. Everybody was partying hard last night.
I keep on trying to tell my friends, like my sister, and we're in the South, and so people in Georgia and the Southeast, college football is king. Mm-hmm. I grew up 7 miles west of Times Square, so I'm about roughly like 20 professional teams. Baseball, basketball, football, all hockey, all kind of grabbing different parts of your attention. And the state of Georgia, yeah, they have the Braves, yeah, they have the Hawks, but University of Georgia college football dominates. Yeah, dominates.
Which is crazy because it used to be UGA and Georgia Tech, but then Georgia Tech kind of fell off.
Yeah, well, you have to actually be smart. You have to have a 3.0 and go to school. That's a real school.
Oh, you're funny. UGA is too.
Actually, UGA is hard to get. Okay, and I say that laughingly, but and actually we have the football team actually has one of the best GPAs in about like 2 decades right now, and it's hard to get into school. But it's college football. Football teams, it's a little more loosey-goosey. There's a reason why Vanderbilt will never win the SEC championship, because they actually school first.
Whereas Georgia Tech, they're about engineers, so they want you to be super, super smart.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I like you were talking about, though, it's funny. I was working in a restaurant just a couple years ago, 3 years ago, and I was floor manager, and like there were hostesses, teenage hostesses. It was kind of their first job, and they're talking about college applications. And I can think of 2 girls that got accepted to Harvard but got rejected to University of Georgia.
What?
Yes, I'm not kidding. I'll say that again. And we're in the state of Georgia, and they applied, got accepted to Harvard, the big one, in Massachusetts, but got rejected by University of Georgia.
Did they say why?
I didn't get. I didn't know the story. Just it is this University of Georgia is that competitive. You know,
it is a hard school to get into,
So,
and they
like-
do get a ton of applicants year after year.
yeah. So I'm doing tongue in cheek stuff like that. You know, the whole football first, but actually Georgia is a legit school. They've got some game for sure.
Yeah, one of my old coworkers, his daughter went there for she went to medical school there.
Mm-hmm.
So she her undergrad there, and I think she transferred to go to some medical school for her practice. But yeah, she started off at UGA.
Yeah.
Now she's a pretty girl. She did talk about the football players and what their degrees were in.
Oh yeah, underwater basket weaving still a thing.
Yeah, and real estate. She was like, some of them had degrees in real estate. I was like, that's a degree? I was like, I'm like, who goes to school to get a degree in real estate?
It's like Celebrity Jeopardy, just like the whole all right, my degree is in colors. I did hear about, I can't remember the guy's name, so it doesn't matter, but this is when I was in school 15 years ago. And I knew someone who was on the football team. And he's like, dude, we got a defensive lineman that has an L on his left shoe and an R on his right shoe. And all he knows is all right, he doesn't know any plays, and he just looks down and knows this way, he knows which way to go. Oh my
It's terrible.
So it's fun and games, but that's the way that's the thing always just makes me laugh. Regionally, that's the thing I always try to tell my family up in Jersey where when I went to school in Athens that, dude, it's game day. I can't leave. What do you mean it's game day? Because Yankee. I mean, I grew up in Yankee Stadium, the Mets. Giant Stadium, and the football game's at 1, so it's tough. The first hour, before the game, an hour after the game, the traffic stuff. People don't realize, on game day, Athens or Baton Rouge or any of these southern cities in college football, the city's shut down. You can't go anywhere. It doesn't matter. The game's at 3:30, and all right, well, it's it's already past dawn, so I can't leave. I've got to be where I've got to be.
Yeah, all the big schools are pretty much like that.
Yeah,
from UGA, Michigan State, University of Michigan. TCU. You have Duke. All of them. Yeah, football season, the coming game.
Yeah.
if you haven't lived prior to,
yeah, all right, you better, if you put your head on the pillow on Friday, that better be where you want to be on Saturday. That's it.
And it's a huge industry. I mean, they talk about it makes $470 million per playoff. There's a lot of money to be made in it. That's why they don't care about. I can't say they don't care about it because I love Georgia Tech. They care about education. But UGA and some of the other ones, no, they want the football money.
Oh, that's that was the thing with LSU, and this is actually kind of fascinating. When Bobby Jindal was the governor and kind of ran the state of the ground economically, and they canceled the season almost on LSU. Finally, they had to fix the economics because they couldn't because LSU football was one of the biggest revenue generators for the state of Louisiana. The whole state, one of the biggest incomes was source of revenue was LSU football.
Football, yeah.
And they were going to cancel the season because they couldn't afford it to fund it. And it wasn't that they couldn't afford to fund the football season; they weren't paying the teachers, and so.
Oh, wow.
And so they weren't able. So that's how they fixed that into where they were furlough on all the instructors. So all the football team wouldn't be eligible because they wouldn't be going to classes, and that's why they were being. It had nothing to do with funding football. That was no problem.
Yeah,
but they weren't paying the teachers, and teachers were like, "Well, we're not showing up." And so that's how they ended up having to address that problem. But the economics is all funny. It's just now you have the paid players, and they always were, but now it's wide open.
But I mean, I know it's off topic what we was initially going to talk about, but I still think, I've always said that players should get paid because to me, I know having done boxing and kickboxing and stuff, and I know what it feels like now. I wouldn't drafted to go to any school to do that. I voluntarily destroyed my body because I wanted to. You talking about somebody playing football with aspirations to get into the league or basketball with aspirations to get, make it into the league, and they don't make it, but those injuries are lifetime injuries, and they've made billions of dollars. Like when we had, they had the college football video games. It was out. I don't even think they do them anymore. So
they stopped because they were about to get sued by the players.
Yeah, because they was making tons of money off these college players. And the only thing they said was, we gave you a scholarship to the school. It's like, but my body, so you making all this money off of my body.
Yeah.
And I'm taking all this damage. And if I make it to the NFL, if I make it to the NBA, that's great because I get millions of dollars. If I don't, I'm screwed. I got to go back into regular public life, but I got to suffer all these long-term injuries. But I got to pay for my own healthcare and stuff to be able to do this.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. You're only talking about the only 1% of like college athletes are going to professional level and actually get paid. And so like you're absolutely right. That was the thing that now like the genie's out of the bottle where it's kind of completely out of hand, but they just refuse to acknowledge anything that the players are doing. It's free labor. It was. They're making billions of dollars.
Yeah.
It's not even close to being questioned. And just like the complete lack of commitment. All they had to do was just something.
Yeah.
Like, hey, all right, listen. If you were offered a scholarship, then that's 4 years. Like, if you don't make the team, then you can still get 4 years of free education, free room and board.
Yeah,
you're good. If you, it's like, and it should have been like workman's comp. Any injury that you sustain on the field to play, practice or otherwise, it doesn't even matter.
Yeah,
it's paid for life.
Yep.
That's just common decency.
Yeah.
But they just said no. It's student athlete. This is these are amateurs. You have to protect their amateur status.
It's terrible, man. Like one of my coworker, he played at not Syracuse. What's the school down there? Auburn. So he played at Auburn, and he said him and his buddy they get together every year just to hang out, just to hang out and just have drinks and stuff and just talk about old war stories, like being on the football field. And he said he didn't get as injured as the rest of his friends, but his friends, he said they complain about the knees popping or they have to shift their knees around and the ankles and stuff. And I'm like, they aren't athletes anymore. They're regular old civilians working regular jobs with all these injuries that they have to pay for out of their own pocket.
Yep. And really, you're the quality of life and your lifespan goes down. Like, all right, just say the average lifespan of an American is about, I think I remember it's like in the mid 70s now, like roughly about 73, 74. With demographics notwithstanding, but then. But if just the fact if you played college football, never mind the pros, which goes way even further down, it gets down to like your 50s. By playing college football, it takes like 20 years off your life. That's like you're gonna die. That's like holy cow.
And those kids, whew, man, and they're getting hit harder nowadays than what the older players used to, because you're talking about new technology that's out from weightlifting and stuff. I know some of them juicing. They won't never say it, but I know some of them juicing.
Oh, sure.
So the impact their body's sustaining from all those hits, I can't. Like I said, I did boxing, and I'm glad I didn't stay in it to go. I want to go professional, but then I started thinking about the long term. I'm an engineer, so those that don't know, I'm an engineer by trade. If I had done professional, I don't know that I would be able to do engineering, because my bobbing and weaving was good, but it wasn't that good.
It's weird. You're absolutely right about that. And I kind of call them brain damage sports, right? You have football, boxing, MMA, anywhere like there's professional wrestling, and it's amazing all of a sudden if you look at the demographics of like these guys that play the so-called brain damage sports, how much crime and CTE and just it doesn't matter how much money they made because all of a sudden personality shifts and they are brain damaged and just. Yeah. It is life impacting. Where, the success stories and the longevity ain't there. It's the drug abuse. It's amazing what happens.
Mm-hmm. Just you got to take all those inhibitors. That's why painkillers. Suppose inhibitor is a painkiller. Because I'm like, I hate taking them, but I know I have to take them sometimes. Like when I get bad sinus headaches or headaches in general. But that's what I call them. I don't call them painkillers. I call them inhibitors. Because I tell my mom that, because my mom, she has like injuries from arthritis and stuff. And I was like, and she has to take morphine sometimes because it's so severe. And I'm like, I hate taking this stuff. I said, because the pain is still there. I was like, the drug is just masking it so you can function. I'm like, but the pain and the injury is still there.
And that's, if you want to get down that road, that's a whole fascinating topic, because then you look at like just the NFL, for example, has a extreme weed policy.
Yep.
But they're pro Vicodin.
Yep.
And I don't care who you are, like, you are incorrect. This is an incorrect policy.
Yeah.
If Vicodin has addiction levels and does all these horrific things to your body, and weed does not do those things. So if you want for palliative pain management, like, give them weed, man. Like it was
So on to our real topic, because we had the conversation today. So I mean, I can't even say this feeds off into that because it's like totally different.
Yeah.
So we're gonna talk about climate change as we shift over into that and what's taking place out in California. I find it interesting because this is when I nerd out a little bit. It's like all the climate shifting that's been taking place over the course of the year, and people's like, oh, climate change is not real. It's a made up thing, and they're just using that just to try to make some money. And because John and I, with Jersey and I, talked about it. Did we talk about it? We didn't talk about it last time, how cold it was when it was like 18 degrees or 12 degrees.
Eight. Yeah.
And so California is facing like this torrential down. Like, they had rain during the playoffs, the other game yesterday, because I was talking about it too, because they were saying they weren't having any tailgating going on. I was like, well, who tailgating when you got potential floods taking place outside?
It's that's the thing with all the there's many issues. Like, you and I talk a lot, and we actually disagree on a lot, which is good. But again, discussion's good, disagreeing is good, and I try to defend a lot of positions. You just heard me say one. Like, we're sorry, like Vicodin or weed, you are incorrect if you're pro Vicodin.
Yeah,
like ARB there, you're wrong. I did flat out wrong. To deny any climate change, you're incorrect at this point. It's just. That is not reasonable at this point. I am saying that water boils at 100 degrees Celsius, and you, a climate change denier, are saying that water does not boil. It's kind of that black and white now.
But what about when they say that this is like seasonal thing and it's stuff that happens throughout history? Like, it comes around once every, like the green comet. What did it happen yesterday? The green comet, they came around like we hadn't seen it since, I don't know how you know this, since the Stone Age. But that when we have atmospheric changes and stuff like this, it's because it's happened, hundreds of years ago, and it's just rotating around again. It's not actually affecting climate change.
I'll say this: scientific, the scientific community disagrees with that assessment.
Oh, absolutely.
So you go with the experts, where not Uncle Ralph. Which Uncle Ralph is saying, it's weather, it changes, it got cold, so there's it's 8 degrees, so that climate change, global warming's a myth. Like, no, it's not, because we're having 1,000 once in a 1,000 year floods across this country every year now. You have 20 consecutive years where, hey, it's the hottest year ever. Oh, the next year, hottest year ever, consecutive. If you have shore property, it's gone. It's disappeared. It's flat out disappeared. We're seeing it in front of our very eyes. It's even to the layman like you and me. Like, it's very easy to see.
Yeah, I mean, because a lot of me coming from the South, and I'm used to growing up in 100-degree weather, and we stayed outside all day long. I cannot do that anymore. Like, to stay outside now down here, and it's 100 degrees outside. Well, it's 100. Well, yeah, it's 100, 101 because of humidity and stuff. It is terrible. Like, I can barely take a good 2 hours outside before I have to get in just to cool down.
Yeah.
Where I was a kid, I was used to it, and I was out all day long.
And that's by the way also healthy for you. People, that's good. I mean, how many people in our previous generation just toughed it out and had heat stroke?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're even football. Look at the previous old-timey football players talk about they were against the water. You were not allowed to drink water in these 100-degree days.
Right.
Now that's obviously that's ridiculous. But it's just there's a difference between weather and climate. When you're looking at one day of weather does not is not a telltale sign of the overall weather patterns in the United States or the globe. Across this country, I was talking to another friend of mine who's like looking for places. You'll notice it doesn't matter what state you're in. You're having flood like these once in a lifetime floods all over the place everywhere now.
Yeah.
And so Kentucky is one that's especially bad hit I was reading about, and how that's why basements are now, like, if you want to rent apartments, basements are cheap because that's where the poor people live, and they get flooded out. And that's happening. Yeah. It's not just happening in California. California is having a bad week, but that's happening across the country. It's happening everywhere.
Yeah, inclement weather is. Yeah, no, it's not, because if you're living in the southeast region, you got to deal with the heat wave coming in from the Gulf, and then you got the atmospheric rivers that's coming in from like the Pacific Ocean and coming out on the west side, and then you get the polar vortex that's coming in from the northwest, and then all of that stuff is mixing together. So if you're in the middle of the country, I God help you, because I'm like when all of that comes together and it mixes, you have that's tornado alley. And it's gotten worse, because what did they have? 1 week they had 7 tornadoes at one time?
Oh yeah, but it's the phrase, like we were talking about how we're thinking, oh my God, it's 8 degrees in Georgia. Like, well, that's happened before. All these events you were describing, well, that's never happened before. Neither is that. Yes. Wow, that's different. Like, yeah, this is a long list of things that have never happened before.
Right. Yeah, with the torrential downpours taking place in California, a lot of that stuff is like, it's historic. It's history making, because they've never seen it happen to this level before.
And it's just that these are like flat out facts, and it's like the polar vortex. Like, okay, well, that's never happened. Like all these tornadoes, these are all devastating. It really is black and white. It's like what I was saying before. If you don't come on board with climate change, if you don't believe in climate change, you literally don't believe in gravity. It's like at this point, the entire scientific community, there's a larger consensus of scientific community behind climate change than tobacco products causing cancer. It's even more so. And we agree on the tobacco products. Why are we not getting on board with climate change? Why is it? What is the resistance here? That's a bigger question, right?
Yeah, that's the one that's the thing that does confuse me. It's like, why? Yeah, what? How are you against that? Like, even when 45 was against the wind turbine, which I just
oh God, yeah, the power of
you get cancer from wind turbines. I was like, how do you get cancer from wind turbines? And I'm trying to think. Is it because of him, or was the ignorance already there and he was just the voice to their ignorance? Because I'm like, why, like you just said, how would you believe in, you will understand smoking tobacco in general, smoking tobacco, and then the carcinogens they use in tobacco in the actual filters of the cigarettes, because it's in the filters, that's toxic. But like you said, but they won't believe that. They don't believe in the science behind climate change itself and what causes climate change.
Yeah, and there's, like I said, and just to put the hammer down the point, there's a bigger consensus in climate change, a bigger one. It's more overwhelmingly, it's literally its margin of error. It's 99%. All right, give or take 1%. So they keep it 99%. With the 45 thing, I think. That is, in a short throwaway, I'll say this about that, is that for any ignorant statement, he was like Liquid Schwartz. That was before, right? It was just, if someone said something stupid, and maybe something stupid, and it's stupidity on steroids. And then he just had a bigger bullhorn, and then yeah. And so the stupidity was, became rampant. Sorry guys that followed it. That's just the way it was. But that, the climate change deniers, that's been around before 45. That's been around for. Yeah. They were saying global warming, in the 50s and 60s, right? That's right. They changed. It's still global warming. And they've successfully changed the narrative to climate change because of what we were just saying just a few minutes ago. Global warming, it was 8 degrees yesterday. There's no global warming, all right, dumbass. It's not that. It's about climate. I mean, overall, it's across the country, floods, storms, vortexes. Hurricanes are now an annual thing. and they're hitting places they've never hit before, whether it be Jersey or Southeast Georgia.
Right.
Like, how many times Georgia evacuated in the past 50 years? I think it's about basically the past 100 years. I think Georgia has evacuated. I want to say the coastal Georgia has evacuated. I want to say 4 times, and once in '86, and like 3 times the past 5 years.
Yeah, because we had, because we had the major one. What was it, about 6 years ago? Hurricane Sandy.
Yep.
Hurricane Sandy was, oh my God, that hit the East Coast terrible.
Hit Jersey. What the hell?
Yeah.
What's the hurricane doing in Jersey?
Right. It's, oh my God. Yes. You're talking about the amount of people, and this is not even funny, that lost their life in there from Jersey all the way up in New York. Yeah. And I'm like, we had not seen anything like that before.
That's never happened before. I have my sister. I still have family up there, so she told me stories and just like the devastation. And here's something that should be put. This is stuff where people should understand. Like, all right, hurricane hit Jersey. It's still kind of abstract. All right. So like a small story, I would tell like, well, I have my sister, my niece, my nephew, small people, small number of people. Like, okay, cool. Come to Georgia. Hey. Strange enough, come south. Come south away from that hurricane. Never heard that statement before. And she couldn't. Why? Gas stations.
Yep.
Everything's devastated. The whole state was blacked out.
Yep.
So, like, even if she wanted to, it was like, I'd love to, but all highways are parking lots. Gas stations are not operational. So I might just get in the car and go, 50 miles down the road on the side of a highway and run out of gas.
Yeah.
There's just no way to get gas. There's like literally trapped. There's absolutely no options except to hunker down and just eat the canned goods they had.
Yeah, it was, and it's fortunate for me, it's like I was able to witness some of this stuff firsthand because I worked in disaster recovery for my company. So I was responsible, me and my team was responsible, and my peers were responsible for getting communication services back up around those areas. So whenever like a major natural disaster hit, like my team and I were responsible for getting everything restored. So for me, it's like I got firsthand experience with it. So I'm like, climate change is real because I've been doing corporate for 20 something years. And we had some natural disasters, but it wasn't to the level that I've seen it over the course of the past like 8 years now.
Wow. And hell, the gas stations are on board. Gas companies are saying climate change is real. Come on, man. Like, what the hell? It's a real thing. We just have to it's not. I don't understand. Like there's some hot topics would be, abortion rights or taxes or healthcare. But this should be, to me, this is the befuddling part, is this should be non-controversial.
Right.
What's offensive about saying, hey, climate change is real, so let's recycle more. Hey, let's look at these other alternatives. Like coal, we can see this. I don't care how much of a, how ignorant you are of how things work. Like you walk by a power plant and see that smoke billowing out. Again, I'm from Jersey. I see the smoke. I grew up on the Jersey Turnpike, and that's a beautiful road full of smokestacks and pollution. We can see the pollution, the dumping, and all these things. Like that's bad. We don't need to find the results. We can see trash in the waterways, unclean water, in the faucets. The smog, old school smog alerts that happen. All these things are bad. So, what's the resistance to be like? Hey, listen, let's just kind of lower our single-use plastics. It requires almost no effort. Like really,
no, and it's like
it costs nothing.
And I found it interesting when people were talking about like we want to cut down on carbon emissions. So we're talking about getting away from coal itself. And they was arguing, and I understand this 100% because hell, they got it in Kentucky too, where your entire town is built on like the coal mines and stuff. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, we had the same transition when we had the auto industry when they built out of pretty much the bulk of Michigan because Michigan was like the auto state.
Right.
And so either the town, transitioned over into something new or it folded and everybody just dispersed. And they're having the same issue going on in, matter of fact, in Mitch McConnell's area in Kentucky, to where they were thriving off of mining and whatnot. And nobody's really doing any mining. Because the only reason that people use coal nowadays, a lot of the times, is for energy. And to me, that's not really going to go anywhere. I don't foresee that going anywhere, but you don't need it for other things. Like we need to get away from full carbon emissions, especially when it comes to fuel, because we have so many alternatives for fuel, but they don't make any money.
Well, you're right about it's got to be money, right? When in doubt,
yes, it's always
when in doubt. When there's resistance to anything, it's money, right?
But regular citizens, though, I'm with you. It's like I get corporations caring.
Right. I can actually defend that. Like, all right, you want to be making squeeze me dollars out of this? I get that.
Yeah,
it's evil, but I understand it.
Yeah.
But the John Q. Public is having all this resistance. Like, no conspiracy. Like, what? What's the problem?
And my point to that in the coal mine, it's like, why are you defending coal when your family members down there mining for coal are catching cancer and everything else from working in the coal mines?
It's literally one of the worst jobs you can possibly imagine.
Yes.
Imagine. I'm just not like it's thinking. Like you actually have more knowledge, and I'll say it this way, and I think you'll agree with me. And I know very little about this. I'm not an expert, but imagine how bad. Just imagine how bad the job of that coal miner is. And you know what? It's worse than that.
Yes.
Right? It's way worse than you can imagine. And I'll defend like what you were talking about as far as these mines, or like the old school like industrial age, industrial factories, where like, all right, we need the factory, it supports them. I understand that. But like you look at the coal industry, that was one of my favorite things. Support coal, these jobs. And there's as many jobs in coal as there is in the bowling industry. That's dying too. Yeah, I'd rather be pro bowling, man.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I don't. Because to me, I'm not claustrophobic, but I can imagine. I am claustrophobic when it comes to something like that, to wherever you could be mining somewhere you have potential cave-ins. Or you're breathing in the air, and the air that you're breathing in is messing up your lungs.
It's how many deaths? This is the 100 years ago, like, the equation where we care about life. We understand what it is. Like, but look at any as Voltaire said, any fortune, with any great fortune, there's a crime. It's a terrible job. We have alternatives for it. It has literally very little use in the long term. There is a plan B. Like there are options. It's multiple choice, not true or false. It's like coal. Oh, what do we do? Oh, we don't have that coal. What are we going to do? Well, we have options.
Like nuclear, and I don't even necessarily care for nuclear, but we have nuclear. We have wind turbines. We just broke through on nuclear fusion. So I'm like, that'll be coming up in the next 10 years. Hopefully sooner, but probably within the next 10 years.
It's these energy sources. That's the thing. Is like. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. It is out there. The geothermal thing that energy sources that like Germany is a proponent of. This is where it's going. It's not deniable. Like we're going in this direction. So let's just sprint to the finish line. Like let's go ahead. Like a wind turbine is all right. That produces energy. Great. Solar panels. And you're a tech guy too. Mm-hmm. The thing is, like, all right, take a look at solar panels. Well, it's not that efficient. Like, well. We work on it, it gets efficient.
Right. If you invest in it,
I got a 70-inch TV sitting right over there that cost me a couple $100.
Yeah.
Right? 10 years ago, it would basically be the size of a small car. And now I can hold it myself and put it on the wall myself.
And when it first came out, it was expensive as hell because it was new technology.
Exactly. And so, like, if we go this direction, if we just apply that same innovation towards to solar power and these alternative methods, first off, like, it's better for the environment and all these other reasons. But we're talking about even for those guys that are like that are working in these mines and working in these factories, like, well, here's a whole job market waiting for you.
Right.
The transition is natural. Like you can just go from here to there.
And that's the issue I had with people that were talking about President Obama and how he wasn't doing anything for the community. I said, actually, you just weren't paying attention to what he was doing. I said, because what he did was he invested into people to be able to go back and get new skill sets, right, to move out of the industries that was going away and prepare you for the industries of the future. But people are so blind by their hatred that they couldn't pick up on that. And I'm not just talking about like white America. I'm talking about everybody, Black Americans, everybody too. Like they were just so ignorant to what he was trying to do. They didn't want to see it. And I'm like, if you had did it back then, you could have transitioned over.
That's the thing, is that we have to understand, and also obsolescence is a thing that will always be there.
Yeah.
There's you go from workers, working farmland to machinery, and that's fine. That's the way it's going to go. It's just, but that's okay, because there's still, it's not necessarily complete deletion. It's a moving from A to B, like what we're just talking about. Like, instead of working coal mines, hey, work at the in the solar panel factory.
Yeah,
it's a direct line.
And that's not perfect either, because we have the one place where it's in New Mexico, to where it's like I forget how many birds die every week from flying over this place because it's so hot from all the mirrors, the panels and stuff.
But again, it's something to work on.
Right. Right. We can. Because we can come up with a anti-reflective coating that won't be able to retransmit some of that heat. But it's the same thing with cell. Like, a lot of people don't know about cell towers. Like, cell towers are extremely hot. Like, if you worked in the cell tower industry, and from all the technology that's inside of there, like, there are birds that try to go in there and land there, and they're cooking. Like, you're going to grab you some free chicken.
I was not aware of that. But again, these are times where we can be innovative. It's a better solution. But the complete resistance, especially on, again, try not to say it out loud, but the one side of the aisle, like the state of Florida, it was illegal to put solar panels on your house.
Yeah. And it was in Georgia too.
It was illegal to use solar panels. Like, what, why? Like, what, if I want solar panels on my, what's the problem?
Right.
Like, why? Like, what is the problem with that? And then you go the opposite way, where like Alaska, where you can actually sell your energy back to the community, which is a good model.
Yeah.
And just don't understand the resistance, that the whole, like, all right, we're so against, like, any kind of acceptance of climate change that we're making laws to keep you from trying, even in your own tiny little house, never mind community, just your household. Mm-hmm. You're not allowed to recycle. Like, what?
Yeah, because Georgia Power here was lobbying against it. And fortunately, it wasn't for the entire state. So it was only for the places that Georgia Power served, to where you were not allowed to have solar panels on your house, period. Like, there was the law blocking it. But for other counties that, like under my county, like I use Walton EMC, they're for it. Matter of fact, they have solar farms, and they allow you to rent some of the space out from the solar farms to get yourself off the grid. And then you can do what you just said, resell some of the energy that you rented space from the solar farm back to Walton EMC, and ultimately get a free electric bill, or actually make some money off of it.
It's just a better model. Like, it's better for especially for the economics on the lower end of the economic trend. For the poorer folks, we're like, all right, well, now we don't, like, we have all this. We can actually, energy is a commodity. It is like it's this close to being a tangible thing.
Yeah.
And so, like, you can actually create as much energy as you can, bank it, and then redistribute it to those that need. So that, like, this way, when it's 8 degrees in the poor communities, and then we're not turning the heat off,
right?
Where people will die,
right? Because what is the city now doing here in Georgia? They're I think it's DeKalb County. Yeah, they're enforcing, like, the old bills they put on hold. Like, if you have it's in the city of Atlanta too. Like, if you had an old $10,000 bill, if it was accrued up to a $10,000 bill, now because they've lost out on so much money, they're enforcing to get their money back. They're forcing the money back, and now they're shutting people's, like, power and their water and stuff off. And that's why I'm a huge fan. I will always be a huge fan of, like, Nikola Tesla, because he believed in the power of using the free energy that the earth gives you, as opposed to monopolizing it and trying to make money off of it.
Right. It's just, I guess you can do consumption-based payment schedules where, like, the first X amount of power the household uses should be free, right?
Yeah.
Like,
and if it exceeds a certain amount, then we got to start charging. Like, if you start overusing it and taxing the power grid, or, we see a large mass consumption of water coming from your house that should not be taking place.
Yeah, that's another thing. I'm against lawns. I don't understand them. I don't understand what the big deal is.
Of lawns?
Of lawns.
Oh, you're from Jersey. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I love a lawn.
Yeah. Well, they're everywhere. I mean, I grew up in suburban, and so my dad loved his lawn and took care of it, watered it. But you go in those communities like California, we're talking about, where there's literally no natural water supply, like that. You can't be just hundreds of thousands of gallons of water just for one person just to keep his lawn green.
Gotta be beautiful.
What?
Gotta be beautiful.
Yeah. Well, the problem is there's only X amount of water. There's no water in the community. All right, people can't drink now.
And what is right, and that's why I say there should be a limitation as to how much you can use per household.
Right.
And that way you can make the determination of, am I going to be bathing, or I'm going to be making sure my grass is luscious and it's green.
I'm fine with any kind of essential resource. Hey, the first tier is free, and then you get a second, third tier. If you go beyond here, you're just paying out the wazoo.
But that's why we should
write a big fat check with a comma in it.
Well, that's why I think we should be pushing a rain capture devices and stuff. I think a lot of this stuff we should have built into houses. A lot of natural things should be built into the house. And then once you use that up and you actually have to come back to the grid or using water and sewage from actually the county or the city, then you start getting charged for it. But but that's how you get yourself, not to get off topic, but I think that's how we do fight climate change and start using what the earth naturally provides, as opposed to some of the man-made stuff. Because even making EVs and all kind of, we have to mine for the materials and the minerals that go into the batteries and stuff in our cars. And the same as the wind turbines, those things are massive. I don't know if you've ever seen them things up in person. They are massive. So it takes a ton of energy to even manufacture those. I get that, but it's minimal compared to what we're using from regular carbon emission stuff from the fuel and coal and everything else and oil.
Yeah, and I guess it's easier. That's the simple thing. And if we're talking about climate change deniers, all these people saying global warming, they're just in it for the money. No, I think the deniers are in it for the money. There's way more money in there's a great documentary called "What Happened to the Electric Car." I don't know if you ever saw that before. It's a few years old, and I think General Motors created a legit electric car about 10, 15 years ago that worked great. And but there's a whole list of reasons why this documentary pointed out. But one of the things that stuck to me was that instead of putting it out to market, they destroyed them. They had a list of buyers. There was a parking lot full of electric cars. They're like, hey, listen, I'll buy one. Here's money. Here's money. How much you want for it? $100,000 a car sold. There's actually, a bunch of, I think Hollywood, big shots had the money. Listen, you have a market. You create you made all these
enthusiasts.
Cars.
Yeah.
And that they refused to sell them. Instead, they destroyed them.
I think I remember that. Yeah.
And that's a thing where I hate conspiracy theories. I hate, being speculative, but what purpose? You have people lining up, all those cars, you have a pile of cash waiting for you. We'll take that off your hands. Why are you destroying them? What was the purpose of that? And I can't imagine, except for the back door, whatever it is, to basically artificially preserve what's going on right now, the current markets. Yeah. My car gets roughly 20 miles a gallon, and we're talking about Moore's law. That's very little. That's not much improvement from 15, 20 years ago.
No, I was about to say.
Sedan.
Yeah.
Right? It's a four-door sedan. That seems unreasonable to me. We're talking about carbon emissions, and we're going down. I'm going a couple different roads, but again, what the overall theme is? What is the resistance here?
Right.
Why can't we make these very basic changes that make sense? Should make sense to almost anybody.
Yeah, because even when you with you saying that is. We always want to talk about the advancement of technology in general and where they can lead us. And you, like you just said, so you want to say, okay, well, we're still using crude oil to create gasoline, so we need petrol. But how is that improving the distance that we get in the vehicles that we make? And it's not. It's the same thing. Only thing they say is the gasoline burns a little cleaner in the engines that we use. I'm like, well, I don't give a damn about that. I was like, what does it mean for me getting extra miles off of the gasoline, the money I'm spending for the petrol to get into my car? And it's not going anywhere.
I mean, these things, smartphones, are actually very new, right?
Yeah.
Like really only about 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Cell phones in general, about 15, really. It went to like almost no one having a phone in their pocket, like, ooh, this stuff, wow, people might like this stuff. To now I have, a more sophisticated computer than they went to the moon on in my pocket. Everyone has one.
Yeah.
That's a crazy, acceleration of innovation and technology. That to me is like, all right, so that happened here. Why? Again, it's a layman talking about technology. Like, but when it comes to gasoline and cars, how is this not more efficient? Like, why? What is the breaking point here? What is the roadblock for us getting better at this? Because we're not.
No, and the bigger the car is, the less miles you get, but the more fuel you have to put into the car.
Yeah.
So it's like if you work in the truck industry, it's now because of the engines that's being put in the car, you get less miles on it. So now you have to stop and fill up more.
Yeah. I just, all these things are again, the overall theme, I think, is what's important here is what we're talking about. I know we're going from, cars to power of the houses.
But it's still about emissions and then what causes climate change.
What's up?
I said no, but it's still about emissions and carbon emissions that's coming out of the vehicles that we're using. And the more cars on the road, the more carbon emissions emitted into the atmosphere that affects the actual climate itself.
Absolutely. It's I think the question I think we're addressing is, what is the resistance? They're not even saying it out loud on the car manufacturers. But and all these things, whether it be single-use plastics, just recycling. Now, recycling is inefficient. Well, it is here in Georgia. I remember January 1st, 1990, living in Jersey. It was by law you had to recycle.
Mm-hmm.
That's 1990. That's forever ago. every single person in the state of Jersey started recycling that long ago. 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And now, just try to recycle. Like they actually put roadblocks. You have to pay to recycle in Georgia. Like what? Yeah. Well, why? What's the resistance here? Like what? Why?
And I don't understand why regular people are not in the uproar. I get, like I said, I will always understand a corporation and why a corporation blocks things, but I don't never understand why does common citizens oppose some of these changes. Because like you said, even when it comes to recycling and the use of plastic, like something that's not biodegradable, it's like people have invented corn that can be used as like plastic bags and stuff and plastic wrap. And that is very biodegradable. It'll break down. Like the minute you put it out in the sun, it'll break down. But they won't adopt that because it's everything comes down to money. Well, I hate to say it, everything just drills down to money. But to me, I'm like, the long-term effect of what the climate does, because you can lose more life and you lose more property because of the damage that the environment causes versus what you gain from the amount of, because you're going to spend more fixing than you are from actually making it from product sales.
Yeah, it's like, talk about investment in the one-to-one kind of comparison, like investing in infrastructure. Let's go ahead. Hey, that bridge needs some maintenance. Let's go ahead and maintain that bridge before it falls down. Now it's going to cost 10 times as much.
Right.
It's just the overall attitude is befuddling. I was at a buddy of mine's house, and it's kind of conservative household, just the way it is. And so he was so mad that they actually have a community, like a small community that actually does recycle.
Uh-huh.
And so he was pissed because they took away his normal tote and gave him a can. I mean, he went off. What's the problem?
Which mean they gave him a big can?
I want my tote back, and instead of the normal trash can size can. And I'm like, what? Why are you going off on this? This is not something to complain about. And and this guy's not not a complainer. But what? There's nothing to complain about here.
Right.
What? But I think it's just an overall resistance where you have a core member of the community on the layman version, not the corporate version we're talking about.
Yeah.
That is so vehement. It's now passion. I'm against any kind of addressing of climate change.
Oh yeah, because it's the extreme left.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't get this. I've always had questions why do you consider people's rights and then making sure health and equality to be the extreme left. But yet, in that same breath, you complain about life where you live at and what you don't have and the conspiracy theories around that.
Yeah.
All the same thing.
It's just grasping at straws. Have been I guess it have to be a retrained mentality, for the average Joe.
Yeah, because I mean, what's taking place out in California is, it's happening everywhere across the country, but we can see it now in California because all of the mudslides, the flooding, the earthquakes and stuff. Because we've all seen the sci-fi movies where California is just taken off the map. And, as it goes on, I'm starting to believe it's really going to happen. Or, somebody out west going to have some oceanfront property that don't live in California no more, like New Mexico or whatever. But, no, you can't turn it back now, so there's no changing it. Like, what's done is already done. Like all the ice caps that are melting, like that's how they're discovering new viruses now from some of the what is the ice called? The permafrost. So they have permafrost. Permafrost, if y'all know what permafrost is, like it's extremely cold, compressed water that's ice. And when that starts melting, now you really got something going on. And like Russia has found like new viruses and stuff that's come from permafrost because it's just melting.
And that's a whole different bowl of wax too, because they're screwed. And when you talk about gasoline and how like those, that's a whole different bowl of wax. We call it Russia and the war because they talk about actually permafrost because if people are worried about their gas prices now, just wait a year because all the gasoline that they have to stop production on, those derricks in Russia are in permafrost regions. And if they stop, they can't be started again. Because it's too cold.
Yeah.
They have to keep on action. They have to have action. And so once they stop, then that's permanently gone. But it is what it is. It's just a passion against, climate change it's unreal. And even this stuff in California talk about is visceral. We're watching stuff that's happening like in your face. Like it used to be, somewhat abstract, somewhat theory, but like I said, like hurricanes in Jersey, 5 hurricanes in Georgia, vortexes everywhere, mudslides in California, water shortage from east to west.
Yeah.
It's in your face, like like you just like it's happening. Like the polar ice caps are disappearing. Your land is disappearing on the shore. Like, yeah, it's gonna be gone soon.
I thought it was interesting. Like we went out to Hoover Dam, out in not Arizona. I don't think in Arizona, out in Vegas. I'm like, you can see how far the water has dropped. And how they don't have because of rain, and it's like and then they're not getting much ice anymore from the mountains that's upstream. So it's like pretty. And to me, that was sad because you saw how much life was lost just to build Hoover Dam, and now pretty soon it's not going to have much use anymore because the water is so low.
Right. And all these things. There's a lot of sad. Like if you want to look at a sad picture, look at like polar bears, right? Where like it's not cold enough where they're at, and they're now starving to death. And that's it's all it is. It's just a dose of reality. It's just where we are. I'm not certain this, the complete doomsday, people that say like, hey, maybe too late. Like this is inertia of what climate is going. It's going in a direction in a horrible apocalyptic direction. And if we started like making drastic changes, just the basic stuff we're talking about already, 10 years ago, we could have maybe slowed it down or stopped it. Whereas now, like the train is going, and like it's a question whether it's too late. Is it too late? I don't know, but
I don't think so. My opinion is, I think it is, but I think the Earth has its way of correcting itself. But I believe when the Earth corrects itself, it believes it's going to correct the cancer that's causing the problem too. So it's going to start killing. You're going to start seeing more storms to kill off humans.
Yeah, the Earth will be here. Yeah, but we won't.
we hence us going to Mars and go trying to populate the moon and stuff.
And it's that is just amazingly like, all right, they don't have air. The air's here. We have stuff like we have to build a. You talk about like, all right, well, we'll just this planet and just screw up another one. No, like the amount of effort, the difference between just fixing what we're doing today, like here, and instead of going like one spaceship at a time to Mars.
Like, it is because we don't. I think that the closest planet we have, like Earth 2, is like 3 million light years away.
Yeah.
And then you start talking about, now this is the other scientific part, you're talking about terraforming. So you're talking about to terraform a planet would take it'd take about a century to do, to fully terraform a planet. So everybody would be living in bubbles like you saw on, what was the movie? I see this, my brain fog coming in. With Arnold Schwarzenegger in it. The sci-fi movie.
Total Recall.
Total Recall, yeah. So we would be living in bubbles like that as opposed to fixing the problem here. But like I said, I believe the Earth is going to pretty much fix itself, but it's going to fix itself and be canceling out some of the humans that's here too.
Yes, like almost any sci-fi movie or like or what's the game I'm about to play is Horizon Zero Dawn.
Zero Dawn, yeah.
And just like, all right, well, like once people go away and stop screwing stuff up, but that shouldn't be offensive. Those evil humans. Like, no, we are.
No, we are. We're cancer. I believe. No, I honestly believe we are cancer. We are cancer too, because what's sad is like certain civilizations have learned how to live with nature, like nature itself.
Right.
Like carnivores and herbivores. Carnivores aren't eating up all the animals out there because they understand that it has to be a balance.
Right.
And you have certain tribes of people that understand it as well too. Like we can't constantly. That's why, like back in the day, people didn't eat meat every single day. Like it was a balance. Right. Now we figure out, we can raise cattle, but then we don't understand. That. Now that's interesting too. Like y'all want to research stuff. Look at how cattle grazing affects climate change. And I'm like, that's interesting because you wouldn't think all the burgers and steak that you're enjoying, like people grazing cattle will actually have an effect on the climate and the environment. And so when actually it does. Same as raising pigs.
Yep, it actually literally creates a whole ozone. That's something new I found out recently as well, where just wherever there's a cattle grazing, and usually it's a big area.
Yep,
that area is like a magnifying glass on the sun. Yep. And it has to do with just the cows themselves creating all these gases.
Yep,
that screws up the environment. Like it's
because it's unnatural.
Yeah.
It's not now. I mean, if we let them run free in the wild, that would be different because they wouldn't be sitting in one spot. They would be grazing over the course of an entire area. But because we're human and we enjoy our wings, we enjoy our steaks, and I mean, everybody enjoy a good steak. Yeah. I mean,
my hypocrisy only goes so far. I'll accept it.
Right. Hey, that's I'm like, we all have our things, but we have to look at how that plays a part too, because we always focus on, like when people talk about climate change, we talk about cars and we talk about energy, but I'm like, you don't talk about the cattle and everything else that we raise and crops. Like when you grow too much of one crop in one area, like everybody pushes soy, but soy depletes so much minerals and stuff from the soil that you can't grow other crops in the area, which is why the older generation of people and the natives, they understood that you had to rotate crops out to re-energize or put more minerals into the soil.
Right. These are all like amazing like details we all take for granted. Yeah. It's like even when we're talking about diets and like I enjoy my steak. I love bacon. Yeah. I do. I own it, but I also recognize I'm not offended when someone says like eating meat is kind of bad for the environment. Yeah, it is.
It is. It's terrible.
That shouldn't be an offensive statement.
It's good though, but it's terrible.
Yeah, it just shouldn't be an offensive statement. It was one of my favorite guys is like pop culture, a guy named Kevin Smith. He does the Jay and Silent Bob movies, and he's from New Jersey. So, but he had a heart attack, and so he was a big dude, and so he's like, I gotta fix my stuff. Like he had a heart attack in like his 40s, so he went vegan as a health choice. Like I have to. Like I can't. I almost died. Like it was one of those Widowmaker heart attacks, and he survived it. Funny enough, the side thing he was a kind of a weed smoker, and weed saved his life because he was calm through the whole thing. But I remember him and he's a comedy dude, but he doesn't say vegan anymore. He says plant-based.
Yeah.
Because people are just offended that you're vegan.
Yeah.
What? I don't understand that. Like, he's like, yeah, I'd say plant-based. Like, it doesn't bother him, but it's just like, just the concept of someone being vegan offends people, other people. And that's like like we were talking about before about like, why is climate change just the idea of climate change offensive? It's not.
No, I mean, and then you have to look at. I mean, we have to start whining about it. You have to look at it, but it's like, look at what we're doing to the environment and we're doing to animals. And look at what we're doing to like fishing.
Oh yeah.
It's like certain fish out there are going extinct because we're like, we're taking them out.
I mean, one of the few reality shows I watch is Deadliest Catch. Again, one of those jobs where like actually it's much worse than they put on TV. And people don't realize, just because I nerd out when I look and get interested in something like the Bering Sea up there in Alaska. That's about 50% of all seafood in America. That's where it comes from. Mm-hmm. Roughly, that's where snow crab comes from. Snow crab legs, and king crab legs come from one place. There, yep. that's where it comes from. They canceled fishing this past year because all of a sudden all crab disappeared. Yeah, overnight, they're gone. They don't know where they are. They said fishing's canceled. Like, what? Because they don't know where they are. This entire ecosystem disappeared overnight. And so that's just a prime example. That's front and center. And these are blue collar guys on the show that like don't believe in climate change either. And like, dude, it's disappearing right in front of your very eyes.
Well, and see, like, who was Al Gore? If y'all remember Al Gore. Al Gore was in front and center. He was talking about it too. But one of the things they did say was like the ocean was starting to heat up, and like even down in the Gulf Coast, it was starting to go up to like another 2 or 3 degrees. And they said, now if it goes up in temperature, that means some of the wildlife that's there is going to leave because it's too hot.
Yep.
So when you have that, the people, us humans that survive off of that fishing and stuff, they're gone. And then some of the other corals, the reefs and stuff that's around there that survive off the, like, everything is supposed to live in balance together. Right. But when you have one sector that leaves because of the temperature, then it screws up everything.
Yeah. Yes. That's the thing. That's all because like crab legs. Again, we were not oceanographers, but like just like snow crab, like that this is an entire species that's disappeared. They help like on above and below them, right? So on the food chain. So below in the food chain, they are integral to moving about, and so the single cell organisms and binomes, like they are essential to the growth of the single cell organisms, and also just like any other thing else in the food chain, the crab themselves, not just us, are food for things above them. Yep. So there you go. Just that one, this crab moving. There's a whole layer down here below them that's now like, all right, well, the crab are gone, so we're gone too. Yep. Oh, I live off of eating crab. Well, they're gone as well. Yep. So it's the dominoes that fall when any of these one things is just huge. And it's almost like incalculable. Yeah, and it's like I said, we don't take into account too, like some of the stuff that we do to cause, not even from the temperature going up, but like the pollution that we have from that happened at the nuclear power plant that erupted out in China. Mm-hmm. And it polluted the ocean from its nuclear falling its waste. So much so that some of the waste start falling up in the West Coast. Yeah. And so you're talking about, you got fallout from that. We've had oil spills that took place out in the Gulf Coast. There's a lot of us that went undetected for a long period of time. So all of the stuff that we're doing to the planet that's why I said the planet's going to come fight back, and it's going to fight back against us humans. And it's going to come in the form of cancer. Yes. Right? Just again, if anyone wants to look at stuff up, just look up the term cancer cluster. And almost every cancer cluster in the United States, at least, well, look, there's a dumping site. Yeah. It's environmental. It's like that humans caused. Uh-huh. So as we didn't get on the other topic. We'll get on the next episode, because I do want to talk about IRS, because I'm not opposed to what the Republicans are doing, because I want the IRS to leave me the hell alone. Yeah. So you got a final thought? Just go Dogs. We're always keep thinking. And today's show, I think, was a good example of let's all make an effort to chill out from being offended by things that shouldn't be offensive. I agree. Yeah, because it's like when it comes to things that actually affect your life and your well-being, I'm like, why would you get mad
for people trying to fight for that.
Right.
Because I'm like, when it comes to stuff like this actually affects you in your life. Like it affects your breathing quality. Because if the air is bad and you have lung issues from asthma or whatever, now you have problems with that. Or if you have allergies, I mean, all of these things play a part when it comes to climate change. Mm-hmm. I'm like, because even now I'm starting to get fall. I've never had fall allergies, but now I'm starting to get fall allergies, and it's just, and then forest fires are taking place now. Greenery is drying. So anyway, a lot of these things are taking place that people are fighting for is actually goes towards your health and your well-being. So I'm like, I don't understand why you would be opposed to it and call it extreme. You can call it extreme living, you can call it extreme. I don't care what it is. It's not any of those things. It's just for your health and your well-being and the longevity of your life and the sustainability of your life. So it's like, why get mad over something that should be corrected so you can have life and your children's children can have life here on this planet?
Absolutely. Well put.
So thank y'all for tuning in to this week's episode of PTG TV. And Jersey, always a pleasure. Because, well, you're pretty much permanent now, so yeah.
God, man, we got, like I said, we got need someone to disagree with, right?
Absolutely.
Responsibly.
Yeah, y'all can and be sure to keep following us on YouTube. It is PTG TV on YouTube. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe on the like on all of your streaming platforms. So, and thank y'all for tuning in. Yeah, make sure y'all stay tuned for our in-person studio audience that will be coming up on February 11th at Kit Lab. So if you're here in the state of Georgia, we will be putting out flyers to invite people to come out to be there in person. And if you don't, you can catch the replay once we post it. I post every Friday by 10 o'clock. So you can catch the replay of any show that we have from Fridays at 10 or latest by noon. So thank y'all for tuning in. Love you all. Peace out.
They don't hear me though. Cycles going round and round and round like a merry-go. Stand for truth or fall for any else.